Why emotional detachment is your key to freedom, and no one tells you that. Because the truth is, if you don't know how to control your own emotions, others will. And that is one of the realities that have hit me in my life very early on. One of the most valuable skills you can develop is the ability to understand how you feel, when, why, and know how to moderate that, know how to negotiate that feeling inside of you, and choose to detach. Today, here, I want to really talk about the misconceptions, and I wanted to highlight how that is really key for how you can regain your ability to master your own emotions and regain control of your life. There is a misconception that emotional detachment often is misunderstood as being you are cold detached and you don't care. It's nothing like that, and I think many would know, but a lot of people don't really realize. And this is used very often in the context of relationships, which are the hardest types of dynamics to manage and to navigate in terms of emotional detachment. And I speak from experience. I have been involved with narcissists, with all sorts of individuals that I couldn't just cut off completely from my life for various reasons. And still, they were incredibly toxic and incredibly difficult people to deal with. So I think detachment is about choosing where you focus your energy, not letting other people hijack your emotions, and managing. Because of that, you know how you feel, you understand what is yours, what is theirs, and then you remain calm, centered. Because if you do that, you still have your rational mind in control of what's going on. Because in the moment you get hijacked by other people's drama, it could be relationships, but it could also be the drama of the news that we see out there. Our ability to think logically, to use our critical skills, just goes evaporate. Because an overly emotional brain is incapable to really decipher as best as possible using a rational process to understand what is a lie or what is actually true. Or if it's a relationship, is this person manipulating me? Is this person again saying this and making me feel bad about myself? I think the classic example is like you are in some dynamic in a relationship with someone, whether that's a friend or a close relationship of some kind, and they are incredibly passive aggressive, let's say like this, and secretly, without even realize, they envy you, okay? So they can't, for the life of them, they can't really feel happy for you, but they never really say that openly to you. You just detect on those moments when, I don't know, you come from work and say that, your boss gave you a compliment because you did something well, and then they just put you down and say, well, yeah, if you would transfer those skills for the organization in your bedroom, isn't it? It will be a big deal. Like they just try to figure out something to put you down. They try to diminish that sense of happiness that you had a moment ago. And this is just a small example, but it happens in so many ways, shapes, and forms and I have experienced in so many ways as well myself personally, that I have become almost like a human detector. I'm able to detect like passive aggressiveness and like those kind of overt way that people have to kind of give like backhanded type of compliments that are not really compliments, to you. And I have become very good at that. But in the moment I decided to stay calm and serene, see things for what they are, understand that this drama, although that little comment that sometimes is not even coming in a form of drama, but it does still have enough emotional impact to hijack yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? So it doesn't always come in a big way with arguments or with huge outbursts. It doesn't always come that way. Sometimes it's just a little comment. Sometimes it's just a little action, something that the other person do that is really charged, and that can hijack you. if you're not careful, you're going to spend a long time just worrying, preoccupied, what this person actually meant by that. Am I like that? And then you start to doubt yourself. And the next thing you know, that's it. You're completely gone. But if you're able to stay calm and centered, and if you choose within yourself where you're going to invest your time and your attention over time, when someone comes, whoever that person is, even if you are in a relationship with them and you actually like them, because that happens. We end up, unfortunately, in life, in love or attached with friendships that are not necessarily the best for us. It happened to many of us. Hopefully there is a lot of people there who don't have to go through this, but my point is they come, and because you have made this pre-work, because you have become good and you develop those skills, you can choose, and then you can stay centered, and then you can answer in a more objective way. I remember once that I used to have this friend, or frenemy, if you would, to always try to somehow bring it down whenever I had something good to share. And I remember that I managed to kind of stop her doing that, because I would simply reflect back to her a point that she made or something like that. You know what I mean? She would say something and said, "Oh, what do you mean by XYZ?" I would reflect that comment back to her, and often, because those individuals oftentimes they are not doing that fully conscious. Sometimes they are, and they're just cruel. But a lot of the time they just lack personal development and skills, and they have jealousy or whatever other motivation, and they are not fully aware of that. They haven't done the work to understand that they shouldn't really project stuff onto you. And then when you repeat back at them, "Oh, what do you mean by saying XYZ?" It does shock them. And they either will pedal back and say, "No, I didn't. I have actually heard things like this. No, I never said that," which is kind of very bizarre. It's like you're trying to gaslight me. No, you just said that. And I'm thinking, right? Because you can't say that to them. Because if you say that to them, they, "Oh my God," then you're accusing them, because those kind of people are very, very good at making themselves look like a victim. Because if you challenge them, they would just turn everything around, and suddenly you are the bad guy and they are the good guys somehow. So, but I would think that, oh, how interesting, you're not trying to gaslight me. But the point is, when you say that, and then whether they say, "I didn't say that," or they pedal back on the comment, they're going to start to realize that you're not going to let them get away with treating you like that. And this is just a small example, but it can be used in so many areas, even at work. And if you position yourself in a professional way, in a manner that is composed, is perfectly acceptable. And I guess it goes without saying that in the times that we live in, emotional manipulation can happen greatly in social media and news outlets. So a lot of us are being somehow manipulated by sources that don't even know us personally. So I think there is a huge benefit for ourselves to detach ourselves, to have a more objective, as much as possible, right? Because as long as we are humans, it's quite hard to be objective, but as much as we can, have a more rational approach to what's going on around us. When I look at news, I usually like to ask myself, who is benefiting from this? How interesting. Okay. This piece of news, how does that make me feel? Like, I usually do that so often and so quickly, and it doesn't take very long. It's just a process in my head. And then when I realize that, is there any basis for what is being said? A lot of the time there isn't. A lot of the time it's just sensationalism, or some hardcore opinion of someone. And a lot of other times it's just to create distraction. So I think that's been working so well for so long, but that doesn't mean you cannot choose to become aware of it, setting boundaries to avoid that brain drain that can happen when you are constantly emotionally hijacked. There is this huge structure, this huge machine in the world we live in that's designed to just suck in our emotions, our attention, and so on. Because think like this, even a social media post that goes viral for negative reasons, like people comment because they think it's disgusting, it's absurd, it's awful, still get engagement, still being promoted by the algorithm. Isn't that so? So I think like not many people realize that, and they leave the comment, which yeah, fine. They have every single right to express how they feel, and especially if it's something they feel strong about. And it's not always like a hate, a comment that is negative. Sometimes they're just trying to put the person straight somehow because what they're saying is really appalling, and I understand that, but just be mindful if you're not really allowing this information, what you're being watched, what's being said, to manipulate you emotionally. Also, ask yourself often in your relationships or in the media that you consume, videos you watch, anything, if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel triggered, especially if you feel triggered, like something comes very strong, ask yourself, is this my emotion or am I reacting to something outside myself? I think those kind of simple but so effective questions can really start to guide you towards a path of intentional detachment. And something else that I want to mention is if you take the role of an observer, you are already placing yourself in a position that is not necessarily one of observing what's going on. And I have done that even in arguments, but like conversations with other individuals that potentially we had a disagreement and the other person clearly feels strongly. And many times I would step back and I would observe what's happening and say, okay, this person is like this, pay attention how I am responding. Am I being overreactive? Not. And, I have managed before, like, to completely disarm the other person because they are so invested on that argument and they will say something, they will throw something at you, for example. I don't know, something that is true, for example, but they throw as a form of attack because, in arguments, those kind of things can happen. And I would turn to them because it's true. I would turn to the past. You know what? You're right. I can be like that sometimes. But that doesn't mean that I don't have the right to have my opinion right now about X, Y, Z. And sometimes because I act in this way, that is more like rational and I own up to an aspect, I did disarm the other person. And so that's something else. Learning to be more of an observer rather than keep absorbing everything and everyone's emotions is huge to help you to learn to embody that genuine sense of detachment. At the same time, be aware of your emotions. Now, this one is huge. The need to control often is the downfall we all have in terms of our emotional detachment. That comes because we are afraid of what's going to happen, afraid of the consequences. It comes from fear, really. Fear of the unknowing. Oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen if I don't have a lot of control in this situation. And the truth of the matter is, once you let go, you need to control the outcome of situations or people, especially. Well, we all hope that we're not trying to control people, but a lot of the time, because we've been conditioned for such a long time to act in a certain way, even this expectation that things and people should behave and be in a certain way is a form of control. So I think like as much as you can to decondition yourself from having this need to have a control over the outcome and understand that there is a lot in life that we can't really control or predict. We only really can control how we feel and how we respond. And the space in between that is where your power lies. Because in the moment you choose to disallow, to no longer let others or the world control your emotions, you are essentially stepping into your own personal freedom. Because freedom is not simply as how much money you have in your bank account. That helps. I know that. But freedom is here and here. So, when the moment you do that, you are a free person.